Good morning. So when I was reading my devotional today, what was covered was First Corinthians chapter 10 verse 31, and it goes, whenever no, it goes, whether then you eat or drink or whatever you do all to the glory of God, right? So shepherd in the trenches, right? This is fitness um with identity in Christ. So this is not fitness that is self-loathing or to prop myself up, to be prideful in the way that I look, to look down upon other people, or to increase sex appeal or anything like that, right? The goal of this is to steward the body that God gave me, right? Taking care of what God has provided me and being, a good farmer, planting those seeds, the parable of the gifts, just making sure that what God has blessed me with, I'm acknowledging that blessing by tending to it, right? That's the goal and that's the purpose. So even with Shepherd in the Trenches and following a fitness journey, going through a fitness process, you are doing what you're doing to the glory of God. Now, what I wanted to thread with this is, we can apply that to everything, right? And everything you do, right? The job that you're working, spending time with your family, anything that is serving your community, right? If you're doing it with the intention, being intentional about making it to the glory of God, you are always in the clear and you always have a clear conscience, right? Paul in here is talking about the consciousness you have when you do things. And the reason why I wanted to talk about consciousness is because when Paul talks to this topic in First Corinthians chapter 10, the people are struggling with figuring out, okay, is it okay for me to eat meat prepared by people who have sacrificed the meat to idols? Is it okay for me to be merry and joyful when I'm celebrating things? If I don't happen to be celebrating, let's say in a church or something like that. So the confusion comes up when it's like, if I'm not doing things as tradition says it is in terms of glorifying God, am I in the wrong? Am I in sin? Am I practicing idolatry, right? Basically, if I'm not doing something in a church setting, right, am I going against God? And that's when Paul calls us to, whether it's eating or drinking, even as simple as that, we have to have the intention of doing it for the glory of God. And that intent gives us a clearer conscience in making our decisions in life. What's interesting about the enemy is the enemy wants you to be misinformed and he wants you to be confused. So misinforming and confusion, right, would put you on the fence where you don't feel like God's glory is something that you can partake in because you're too far gone or there's no way to be perfect, right? And another side is if you are somebody who is very critical about God's promises and wanting to abide by the creed that God has placed in your life and on this earth, you might feel like there's no way you can win, right? So it's kind of like either you feel like, it's pointless, I should give up, or it's just like, wow, you trap yourself mentally into this place where you're not enjoying life that God has provided you, right? Or the earth that God has provided you to be in and to live in and enjoy that He created because you're so consumed about making the wrong step every direction you turn everything that you do. Like, oh, I'm starving myself. I can't eat because it, God wouldn't have me this, or you don't want to get too far gone either direction where you completely capitulate and give up, or you just feel like life isn't worth living because there's this holy path that you just can't seem to walk. So Paul gives this as a, hey, in all things you're doing, have the intention that you're doing it for the glory of God, right? Because then you can avoid Israel's mistake of idolatry, right? And then you can also enjoy the life that God has given you because if every day you're stewarding, if every day you're giving glory, you're constantly having that intention in the right place. So I really like this verse today. I like how it had me thinking about things in a different perspective. And so, this is a devotional. I pray that you all have a blessed and productive day. And, I'll catch y'all soon.